Mark Skaar on KIOW welcoming in Finn, John Finseth, and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Clem Burke from the Tearaways. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Great. We're just getting ready to get to a rehearsal to prepare for our upcoming tour of the UK. We're leaving on Monday, so happy to talk to you for a little while, and then we're going to be off to a rehearsal. So, yeah, all good. How are you today, Finn?
I'm doing okay. Just getting excited about rehearsing and this tour. We're all pretty, considering the circumstances, we're all pretty excited just to get out there and play. And that's how I feel about it. I feel like a little kid, looking at Disneyland, at night, wanting to go there the next day and going to all the rides. So that's how I feel right now. Just the anticipation.
Well, I wanted to offer my condolences on your friend John, who passed away last month. I'm sure it's been a difficult few weeks here for you.
Yeah, yes, for sure. We're doing this tour in John's honor. He was a big, obviously, prime mover in creating this tour for us, and a brother in the band. I only knew John for only a short number of years. He became a very good friend of mine. He's a tremendous loss, both personal and professionally for me. And but we know that he would want the show to go on, as the old show business saying goes. And I'm sure Finn feels the same way.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to us because we know that that's what he would ultimately want, but we'd like nothing more than him to be there with us, and because it meant so much to him as it meant to us. So we're trying to deal with the loss of somebody that is part of our blood, really, and musical blood for sure, and creative blood, and just an amazing person. So, but with that said, we know he would want us to continue on and give it everything we had. So that's what we're doing, and I think it will be comforting to all of us, to each other, to get back there and play these songs and promote this record.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You have a forthcoming record out called We Grew Up on AM Radio, and I've heard probably 5 or 6 songs via the internet. What a fantastic collections of songs that you guys got here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we're very proud of it.
Yeah, it's beyond ironic that we just were about to do this huge promotion, let's say, and also release, 4 or 5 videos and, all this new music in conjunction with John. And it was all, in the works, and then with shock of his untimely passing. So, we're just moving forward because we are very proud of the record, and particularly, those songs, the Wrecking Crew song, the Sweet Sounds of Summer, and all of which John was a major contributor to. So, yeah, the record's great, and we're just doing what we do. And thanks for saying that, how much you like it.
What's the street date for the record? When's it coming out?
We're working on some of the artwork and still tidying up a few of the edges on it. Obviously, John, was involved in the management part of the group as well. So when his untimely passing happened, it kind of, now had to have us deal with the rest of this. So we're hoping that the release is going to be sometime in September. That's what we're shooting for.
Very good. We're talking with John Finseth and Clem Burke from the Tearaways. And let's get into some of the tracks. Clem mentioned Wrecking Crew. Of course, I think everybody, if you haven't seen the documentary, my goodness, wow, what a fantastic documentary. Every record you heard back in the day, these guys played on it. And what a beautiful homage to those folks.
Right. I mean, it's like a 3-minute history lesson, creating the Wrecking Crew song. I mean, for me personally, I would always cite the influence of the Wrecking Crew on myself, particularly, you know, Hal Blaine and Earl Palmer, the two drummers of the Wrecking Crew. And also I was fortunate enough to work with Don Randy, one of the pianists of the Wrecking Crew, still very much alive and well. He was the musical director for Nancy Sinatra when I worked with her on and off for a number of years. And, you know, on those records, the Wrecking Crew was the predominant musicians on Nancy's records. For instance, These Boots Are Made for Walking, Hal Blaine, the drummer, plays on it, along with the other members of the Wrecking Crew, Don Peck. And, you know, with Nancy, she still has all her charts for those songs. I was able to see Hal Blaine's charts, and he had to stamp Hal Blaine Strikes Again. He would stamp his charts, drum charts. And, yeah, the Denny Tedesco, the director of the Wrecking Crew movie, was very helpful in us getting the outtakes from the film for our video, the Wrecking Crew video that the Tearaways did, along with director Stephen Brooks. So, yeah, I mean, that's really, you know, grew up on AM radio, the title of the album. That those guys in the Wrecking Crew were really the preeminent musicians on a lot of those hit records you heard in the 60s. And, you know, of course, the Phil Spector stuff and the Beach Boys stuff and the Monkees and et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of come full circle for us, and we're really proud of the homage that we've created in this particular song and with the rest of the album.
And to be honest, it's so surreal because we just wrote this song with the idea of, you know, we're going to do this because we think we want to say this and want to give this kind of, you know, awareness. But then for the response from the Wrecking Crew, that to me is like the surreal part. It's like, you know, the emotional response we've been getting from these, you know, these guys that were in the Wrecking Crew after hearing the song is almost, you know, takes you back like the song's bigger than any of us. We're just, I mean, I'm humbled by that, just absolutely humbled by that. It's like, wow, you know.
Yeah, the drummer Hal Blaine, you know, he had his 90th birthday party at Don Randy, as I mentioned, the piano player from the Wrecking Crew, one of the piano players, along with Leon Russell and a few other people. He had his 90th birthday party at Don's club, the Baked Potato, and he was able to hear his song, The Wrecking Crew, and also Don Randy saw the video, and he sent me a lovely message that I was able to play over a microphone at a Tearaways rehearsal, one of the last ones we had before John passed. So it was particularly emotional and memorable to hear Don expressing his joy in seeing the video and acknowledging that Hal Blaine had heard the song. Hal passed right after his 90th birthday party, and so yeah, it's beyond our imagination of the sort of life it's taken on, the Wrecking Crew song. And in fact, there's going to be a tribute to Glenn Campbell on Sunday with the surviving members of the Wrecking Crew. And before they do their performance, they're going to play our song in the video to kind of open up the performance, which that was really kind of unfathomable that they would take on such, interest by the members of the Wrecking Crew themselves. It's really something for us. I mean, I can't really express it in words.
It's so hard to explain what that significance to us as fans of them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, these guys were the guys that were the ringers back in the 60s. You know, these guys are just ridiculous players, and for them to give us the response that they have is just, I think Clem said it. We're just like, we're just can't believe it, really.
It's a huge honor.
It is a huge honor. Yep.
Let's talk about Manchester Girl. What a great song that is. I'm noticing a lot of patterns in your songs. You're prolific, 6 albums in 5 years, and everything's just nice and economical.
Right. Thank you. That song just basically kind of wrote itself, really. we had this idea to write it. You know, my wife's from Manchester, but and of course, a lot of my favorite bands that I love are from Manchester, or from the UK, of course. But I would say, Clem, right? We just sat down when we rehearsed, and basically we played the song like twice. And
right.
I mean, came very, very quite simple. And then, of course, we were fortunate on this album to work with Ron Dante, who was like the voice of the Archies, and the he did the Cufflinks. He was in that, was with that group, the voice of that, and produced.
He was a great vocal
arranger, and he kind of helped us a little bit, actually helped us a lot with the recording of all these songs. But I remember with that one in particular, he was very, very helpful with us, with that song. But it did go very quickly. That song wrote itself and recorded very, very fast. So I'm not sure what that all means, but I do like it. A little ear candy.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's in one of the videos, Ron Dante.
Right.
Correct.
He is.
Sweet Sounds of Summer, which was another song that was written with him in mind, because he came on board to produce. So we had this idea. We all kind of talked about it. Let's do let's do this song, and in the middle of it, if he'll do it, let's have him come in and sing Sugar Sugar. So we asked him if he would do it, and he said, "Do you want me to sing Sugar Sugar in the middle of one of your new songs?" And because he was the voice of that song, and he goes, "Are you sure about what is the song?" I go, "We don't know yet. We just know we're going to write a song with your middle bit in there." And he goes, "Well, okay, I'll do it." So that song, again, it was complicated but not complicated. And again, it's sort of the same theme here. It's that journey back to, the summertime and the songs you would hear on AM radio, and that being the 50th anniversary of Sugar Sugar, we found out, being number one for whatever it was, 6 weeks to 2 months, whatever it was, in 1969. And it just kind of wrote itself. We put his little bit in there, and it was like, it was always supposed to be that way, I guess. So we just didn't know it, until we did it. So
it's a happy accident.
It's been a joy to work with.
And then Who Are You Gonna Be and Why? That's yet another video. More cool stuff.
Yeah. Right, that's a little punkier, that song. I think the original inspiration for that song came from John Ferriter. And there's a guitar line in there that's kind of, for me, it's very reminiscent of the band Television. Richard Lloyd, the guitarist in Television. So it's a bit more hard edge, let's say, maybe influenced by kind of what happened in the mid-'70s in New York. I think that was kind of the intention of the sound of that particular song. And, it's, profoundly, at the end of the video, John, it's dedicated to John. Once again, if we were doing this interview a few weeks back, John would also be on the phone with us. So, of course, we're going to move on. But as we're talking about the songs, it's also reminding me of John's input in the songs, along with the rest of the members of the band. But, yeah, that's a great song.
It's definitely, John had this idea for the song, and then Dave had that riff. And then it all just that came together again, kind of like Manchester Girl. What was it, Clem? Like two pass-throughs, right? I mean, it was quick. It wasn't.
Yeah,
we're rehearsing forever.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of be efficient, and we all know how to play, and so it kind of, and we were doing it, from the ground up, so to speak, and with Ron on board co-producing. So. We built the basic tracks, and then I think a lot more time with the Tearaways, because one of the major attributes of the band is the vocalization and the harmony. So I think, we spend some time on getting the vocal arrangements correct as well,
Yeah, and you're doing a lot of name checking.
About the Tearaways. What's that?
I was going to say, you guys are very clever at doing a lot of name checking.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff out there that's influenced us, and so I suppose we're kind of a cumulative effort in that regard.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I imagine you're thinking about a U.S. tour at some point. I know, obviously, we talked at the top. You're going to go to the U.K. Here very, very shortly. But how about the United States?
I think we're going to field things and see what gigs we can get. You know, it's basically doing it all ourselves, you know, so, you know, we have to do it efficiently. But for anybody out there who wants to hire the band, we're available. Bar mitzvahs, weddings, anything.
We're ready to go.
I am. I actually live 1.5 hour away from the Surf Ballroom where Buddy Holly played his last show.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
And it's still here 60 years later, and concerts are still happening, and yeah, it's alive and thriving. A 2,100 seat ballroom, not even seats, people. So yeah. Little chunk of history there.
Venue, well, Mark.
Yes.
Well, Mark, the pressure's on you. Let's do the gig.
Clem, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Empty Hearts. I love the first album, and I know the second one's just about ready to come out.
yeah, in fact, it is. It's interesting because, you know, early on, Steve Finseth was a big proponent of, you know, spreading the word about the Empty Hearts. And the new record that is recorded and co-produced with Ed Stasium once again, brilliant producer, produced, you know, the Ramones, Smithereens, Living Colour, etc. It's due to come out around Valentine's Day on Wicked Cool, Steve Van Zandt's record label. And, you know, coincidentally, you know, in the interim, Steven took a great interest in the Tearaways and with the Wrecking Crew song, because Steven is so major proponent of musical education in schools, and also the musical education of the roots of rock and roll. So the Wrecking Crew song was a perfect song for his playlist on the Underground Garage Syndicate. So hopefully the Tearaways record's also going to come out on Wicked Cool, which would be a great thing. I think that's in the works. But yeah, the Empty Hearts record is definitely coming out, and we're going to plan on doing some shows. For me, you know, some people say, how can you be in so many different bands or have so many different projects? I just like to continue playing. And as a drummer, I obviously I need to work with other musicians. I'm not a big person on drum solos per se, or I mean, I go into my little studio and play the drums and enjoy that, but I need to work with other musicians. And for one reason or another, with Blondie, we just completed a tour with Elvis Costello and the Imposters. To my mind, it was much too short. It was about 3.5 weeks. For me and the other members, for Debbie and Chris and Blondie, that's always been the sort of stepping off platform, you know, the stepping stone to do many, many other things, whether it be in art, Chris with his photography, Debbie with her acting, or me with working with people like the Tearaways, or, you know, in the past, in Rhythmics or Bob Dylan. So I kind of, and I have kind of I'm able to balance and juggle things. So right now we're concentrating on the Tearaways because we have the whole from now until basically till February to really concentrate on that as far as my participation at this moment in time. But yeah, Empty Hearts, great band. You know, Elliot Easton and myself and Wally Palmer from the Romantics, and Andy Dubuque from the Chesterfield Kings, which was kind of one of the preeminent sort of garage rock, modern day garage rock bands that Steve Van Zandt really particularly patronized and liked. And he actually had them on The Sopranos, and yeah, so it's all good. You know, it's a small world out there, really. You know, people that are really the big sort of proponents of rock and roll music. You know, rock and roll itself is almost like, as far as its art form, it's kind of very reminiscent of jazz now. You know, there's an avid audience for it, but it's not what I would call pop music. So, yeah, as long as I can keep playing and being around people that I enjoy being around with and enjoying the music, I'm all good. So, yeah, look for the Empty Hearts, around February.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to both. Guys, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and all the best going forward.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Love to everyone.
That's
all right. Thanks, Mark.
That's John Finseth and Clem Burke from the Tearaways on KIW.